Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV podcast episode 566. I'm your host, John Van Derzen, and even though you can't see him, joining me, at least metaphysically or something, is my co-host, Terry Miller. Terry, say something so we know it's working.
I think this should be working. Is this going to be our favorite episode yet, where people can't see me? Is this what we're going for? Should I be taking a hint?
It might be, Terry, where nobody can see where you are or what you're doing. It's probably best that way. You know, I know you like to keep things under wraps a little bit.
Well, to be fair, just to give everyone a little perspective, obviously, not only are we starting this at an incredibly goofy time at around 6:15 Central, it is actually 2:15 in the Finland, Estonia, whatever Eastern European time zone. I think that's what it is. EET, Eastern European time zone. It's 2:15 a.m. And believe it or not, I had this incredibly sophisticated, legitimate, fancy setup all ready to go. And of course, international data decided, even though I tested and it tested great, it wasn't going to work so well. So that's why you're getting audio only, and you get a little break from my face. So somebody's winning out there. I don't know who, but somebody's winning this week.
Well, we had a break from you all weekend. We didn't see or hear you, yet you were at the event, which is a little weird. Tell me a little bit about what your job was this weekend at the European Disc Golf Festival, because you weren't on the you weren't on the broadcast. So what were you doing there, Terry?
Yeah, it was great actually, in the sense that it was a lot like last year, where I had originally talked to a couple of the event organizers, and they had reached out in terms of a media capacity, and I don't want to say gave me free reign, but said, hey, you know, you're welcome to do some media stuff and whatever it is that you need. And then I tied that together actually with the PDGA, who's been a little light on trying to fulfill all media needs, especially when they've really had double majors going on during the same week, which is another conversation for a little later. But they had double majors going on. They had the juniors going on in Emporia, which I would have also loved to be at. And then we, of course, had this one going on here. And so it was a good combo of going out and getting some additional footage. Obviously, I posted a handful of videos and whatnot. The depth of straight up raw footage that I have now, though, that I'm excited to put even more content out with as kind of this week rolls on, is really what excites me, though. I've got a lot of different players, not necessarily our two top cards. I kind of steered clear of those, and got a lot of other players from a lot of other places, a little on the FPO side, and then definitely a lot on the MPO side as well. So I could go on for hours about just how amazing this event is, and we'll get to that. But it was, it was an incredible experience, a lot like last year in terms of their organization, what they had set up. The sheer media exposure from a I'll call it local, a national level, is insane. The amount of people that were running around to capture footage and or interviews that are from just here in Estonia was awesome, on top of all your standard MDG Media, Disc Golf Pro Tour, PDGA, and then Disc Golf Network and beyond. It was, and then the event team itself has their own entire media setup as well. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it seemed that way, and we've heard some criticisms about, you know, the course or just the lack of experience from maybe the tournament itself, and how they can get awarded all these events in the upcoming 5 years with kind of just the course that's out there, which is really just it's a race course is what it is. I mean, you need to get on the birdie train early and often in order to compete at this course.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And of course, well, here's the funny part is, name me a tournament or a course that doesn't have criticisms. Yeah. I mean, is one place to start. So of course this one is under the microscope for a number of reasons. It's too easy. Well, yeah, I don't know if I heard as much that it's too new. It's just it's too easy is obviously the number one narrative that's been put out there. But yet it's funny that we had no wild surprises, right? No one that's 990 that was in contention for winning it as if it were, we'll say, fluky. At the end of the day, especially after 4 rounds, the cream rises to the top. To use that old adage, the cream rises to the top, and there was essentially no surprises anywhere in the top couple of cards. Obviously, there's a favorite to pull for, and some back and forth, but no massive surprises like, oh my god, that's unbelievable. There's no way that happened. That didn't happen on FPO or MPO. So, is that shed a little light to maybe the course isn't so? I don't want to say fluky, but it's clearly not fluky, right? Because if you had 5 players sub 1,000 somehow all take the top 5 spots, then everybody would be raising an eyebrow and being like, wait, what's happening here? How the hell did that happen? That wasn't the case this weekend. So they got a lot of good stuff going for them. There is no other way to put it. The way that not only Tallinn and the festival grounds are behind them, but then obviously the local and countrywide backing in terms of the government and sponsorships is second to none. I don't know who else is behind an event more than what we've seen here. One argument could be made for like the greater Peoria area, possibly, but that's a different. I don't know. I guess I would look at that in a slightly different light, but I don't know. It's there are no crazy surprises, and could the course have more teeth? Yes. I don't think anyone's going to argue about that. What do they say about USDGC? Just stay in bounds. Well, stay in bounds here. You're going to probably pick up a lot of birdies, and you're going to probably score well. I mean, right?
It did feel like the course was reminiscent, not in how it looks, but how it scores to a Fountain Hills, where the birdies are all there. I mean, anybody can go out there and shoot a 14, 15, 16, or even an 18, but you can also shoot a 3 over if things aren't going your way. And we saw that from some of our best pros. They would shoot a 7 down one round and a 2 over the next round, or a 2 under the next round. It was really the consistency of the top players that kept them up there. That, I mean, they powered through that course. That's honestly what it came down to.
Certainly, and that also goes hand in hand with a different set of pressures that are put on an event, where if you have to get out there hot, every par you take feels like a bogey. And players have said almost exactly that exact same phrase. You know that when you're parring on some of those holes, you're losing strokes to a good portion of the field. And now clearly some of those birdies are much more difficult to get than others. And with the amount of OB out there, you can go out of bounds on, I guess I haven't even thought about it. Could you go out of bounds on all 18 holes?
Almost.
Yes.
Yeah, almost all 18 holes. I think all 18 had OB, but realistically, I think there was like 17 of them that out of bounds was really in play. I mean,
I can't think of one where it's not, though. Like, I'm kind of running through the course in my head. Let's put it this way. There are very few holes where you are for sure safe from going out of bounds on either the tee shot or the approach. I can't think, and somebody, I can't even see the chat tonight, but somebody could put it out there if there is. I don't know of one hole off the top of my head in walking around out there for a few days now that you couldn't find out of bounds at some point on every hole. Now, of course, some of those are easier to find than others. There's no doubt about that, but OB is out there. It certainly looms on every single hole on that course. So,
yeah, I'm looking I'm looking at the OB strokes. Hole 4 only had 1 OB the final round, and hole 18 had 1 OB the final round. So while it's available, It's yes,
Correct.
it is there. It's just unlikely for you to hit it, but it's
Yeah,
there.
and you're also looking at that point, you're looking at, all the players that made the cut as well.
True. If I looked at yeah,
Albeit they're probably similar stats for the other days. Yeah, you almost have to try to go out of bounds on 18, but it's definitely possible. And I can see the same on 4 again.
yeah. On day one,
the point
hole
is,
4 had 1 OB, so that's the least likely hole to go OB on.
sure.
But it's still
Okay,
it's there.
so you get reprieve on one shot.
Yeah,
You get reprieve on one freaking hole, right?
Yeah.
Obviously there's a lot of conversation about the other course that will eventually get added. That'll be part of the world's contingency or part of the world's overall scope and plan. I think I can't say this enough. We're going to have a really interesting, come to Jesus moment or terms with, do we want big crowds?
Yes.
Do we want things that are gallery friendly?
Yes.
That might provide slightly easier layouts and or situations like this, and insanely accessible as this event is, arguably one of the most accessible events in all of disc golf for thousands of people to get to in a multitude of ways? Or do we want to continue to be buried in the woods somewhere? And I'm not claiming we can't have woods golf. There's clearly trees on this course. No one can claim it was ball golf course like. But and clearly, I'm not trying to lose any roots of disc golf. I love playing in the woods as much, as anyone else on the planet. But a course like this checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, you have to weigh the pros and cons of the event overall, and one of the cons is the easiness, so to speak, of this course. But is that worth it to get 4,500 people out there on the final day? Is that worth it to have the backing of the country of Estonia and the city of Tallinn? We can make these sacrifices once in a while. Not every major has to be Northwood Black. And Northwood Black's a great course, and every pro would probably enjoy playing around there. Well, maybe not every one of them, but a lot of them would enjoy playing that type of difficulty. But if you can get more eyeballs on the sport, that has to weigh on the other side of the scale for this event. And we have to be willing to make these sacrifices. We have to be able to make the ones that say, you know what, it's okay if we have a major where it's not it's not the most difficult course, because this was still a fun event to watch on both sides of the divisions.
Yeah, and I think where I'd fight back on that is, well, again, it depends on the optimism of your algorithm. Clearly, many people were either disappointed or annoyed or frustrated that they thought the course overall was too easy. And so therefore it wasn't exciting. It was just boring. Now, does hole 1 look boring maybe on some of the coverage? Sure. I'll tell you, it's one of the coolest experiences our players have ever had, and they'll all say that. It's standing on the top of that deck and throwing from it, even if it is a big hyzer to find the open landing zone on the very first tee shot of the entire event. It's still a pretty damn cool experience.
I'm with you. It's funny because of all the holes, I feel like hole 1 is one of my least favorite holes, just because you have this such a great place to be, and then it is just a hyzer. Like, all right, everyone's going to be throwing to this one spot. It feels anticlimactic in that I would rather see the basket move to where the hyzer lands, somewhere over there. Put a basket over there. It doesn't have to be another throw up so you can end up around the circle 1. To me, it feels, I want to see some excitement on hole 1 and hole 18 when you're in that environment. I don't care if it's an easy 3-4 for 89% of the players. I don't care. Give me a chance at an ace. Give me a chance at something really cool happening. Or pull the basket in so some of those long arms maybe make a run at it. Like, that they have to choose, like, kind of like hole 18, but maybe a little tougher. They say, I could push that. Make it 412 or 450 or something, and just say,
Sure.
Let's gun at this. Anthony Barella's going to give the crowd something to cheer about. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
Just I hated the hole. I just the hyzer
that's fair.
to a pitch up only because of the environment. If that's any other hole on the course, I don't care. But you're getting up for this. You're getting the crowd there. You're so excited. And then it just felt like it was like, wah, there's a shot. Like there was no finish to it. Was my only complaint about that hole. Put it as hole 2 without the stadium, and you're great. But that stadium just, like I wanted something exciting, like 18. But what do you do?
Yeah, honestly, that's not the dumbest thing you've ever said in terms of making it a par 3.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in a place that's with high difficulty. It could be attacked. Now, again, logistically, and there, the whole "you know what you should do" phrase, right? Well, so I'll answer the "you know what you should do" rebuttal to that is, it's also up in that spot because that's the most natural spot to get you up to hole 2's tee.
Of course.
Anyway, so that's part of the reason probably why it's there is because it's already leading you there. But even if you finish the hole, 50 feet from the ideal landing zone right now, and it was 50 feet farther up the hill, and then they just had to make a slightly longer walk to 2, it would provide a lot more excitement on the first hole. And I don't disagree with you. The other thing I'll say is, yes, it's a big hyzer. First of all, of course, people still missed it and found out of bounds.
Of course.
Yeah. And second of all, I'll say this: it's a lot longer and more difficult than it gives you on camera. Because I remember seeing that hole prior to getting here last year and being like, man, this looks so lame. And then you're standing on that deck, waiting to tee, and it's just such a cool look, even if you're just trying to throw it out into the field, so to speak, or out into the grass. I don't know. It's tough to explain.
I'm not judging the difficulty of the hole by any means. I'm the atmosphere. It's the atmosphere I'm more judging.
Yeah, I agree, because I mean, all people can do is throw it far or not, and then there's a cheer based accordingly. Now, if you were throwing it and somebody was, like you said, either ace running or your longest arms maybe were getting the payoff of an actual birdie look. I don't know. So yeah, we'll see if any. Of course, things will get talked about. We've got a couple years before Worlds is there. We're going to continue to have tweaks. What's been, I think, most inspiring is a few of the hole changes that they made tells you that they're willing to make these adjustments as best as they can out on this course in terms of trying to make it better. They're still a little bit landlocked, certainly, and only have so many possibilities, but just knowing that they adjusted a few things this year was something in the right direction. And then the other thing I was going to say, kind of going back to the overall premise of the course, have you ever heard someone say, gosh, that sucks, that round just played too quick?
No, I mean,
that no one ever, right?
Except for maybe the viewers that wanted to sit and actually and watch, like,
probably not.
No, I'm with you, but I will say that, like, sometimes we're so accustomed to being able to tune in like 2.5 hours into a round, and you're like, cool, I got another good hour and 20 minutes on this thing. Not this round. Like, you're catching hole 16 at that point.
Yep. And like there's and on the ground there's something to be said about that player, not just the player experience, the fan experience, and who you want to go watch, or do you want to watch this person, and then maybe you're going to go out for another lap because you can go watch another person from a different card, or maybe even within the same division if they're far enough away on the MPO sides. So it just, I think about camera ops, I think about overall TV time, I think about then other time that the players then can spend with fans. They're in the fan zone, they're signing autographs, they're hanging out afterwards, or whatever. Like, there's just so many more things that go into it. Now, I'm not trying to revamp baseball here and put a shot clock on the pitcher, but a lot of birdies, no backups. I mean, it's going to feel like a slog come Worlds in a few days. Playing the Beast and playing out at the Nokia course or the Tampere course. So anyway, that's kind of a side note. I'm not leading any charge on said concept, but it sure felt great walking around being like, oh man, this round's almost done, and I can go watch someone else now. So that's something to keep in mind when you're talking about the overall pace of play. Now, granted, which maybe did or didn't come through on the broadcast, I'm not sure, Estonia, as I've been told by dozens of Estonians, just had the single greatest weather week of their life. Like, in fact, they were whining it was too hot because it was 78, and they've had nothing but rain and cold for the last couple of months. And of course, their summer kicks in a little later than we do in most of the states. But there was Estonians just running around basking in the sun because we had, again, nearly perfect weather. I mean, obviously, we talked about the sod and getting all the grass replaced and what happened at that festival grounds just a couple weeks prior. And you went out there now, and it's like it was just glorious.
Yeah.
So
other than the color,
I guess it's a long-winded way of saying, like, hey, we had good weather. Obviously, things slow down in the rain, and the conditions were prime, and conditions then led to the scoring, which we can't necessarily count on 0 win for 4 straight days like we had.
Yeah, other than the color of the grass and spots, you couldn't really tell that it was sodded up on camera. That it was recently done. I didn't see anybody.
Oh, sure.
I didn't hear anybody complaining about the footing on the and maybe there was on the course that I couldn't hear, but it also didn't feel like on a lot of these spots it really came into play because it wasn't. God, there's like maybe more than that. Just like a handful of holes where you really have to throw another power shot from the fairway.
Well, and really the most important takeaway was the reaction by the entire world.
Oh, awesome!
To disc golf fanatics, talking about it. Oh, yeah. Whether you were dismissive and or optimistic, either way, the reaction we all had to get here and to see that it truly was only needed to be. They did all that sodding in like a couple of spots. That I even was surprised when I got here, and I was like, wait, I thought so much more of this course was actually tore up, and it wasn't. It was where it was tore up, but not nearly as many of the spots or as many places or as much overall acreage as I had thought. But yet again, the biggest hats off to the crew because, like you said, it looks so good out there.
Yeah.
I wore pearly white shoes 4 straight days on that course, walked almost every inch of it at one time or another, multiple times, and my shoes didn't as much as get like an actual chunk of mud at any point through the weekend. I mean, and they're bright white. So I had like an actual like gauge to be able to tell, and they were still perfectly clean.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show the type of dedication that crew has to this event and the future events that I'm not worried in the slightest about the future of Estonian disc golf, the future of our majors, and our world championship in, 4 or 5 years there. It just, I'm not worried in the slightest. I think they'll deal with it. As we said, they'll make adjustments to the course, probably tweak some things, and really make it more of a maybe either even more exciting or a little more difficult, or however they're going to adjust that. They have the time to do that. So let's talk real quick about some of the actual winners of the event. Normally we would try to get someone like a Calvin Heimberg, who won MPO on. But Terry, what time did you say it is right now in Estonia and Finland, where you're at?
It is officially 2:39 a.m. at the moment.
So an hour or two before your bedtime. Yeah.
So outside of being being around 6 or 8 hours ago, it wasn't going to be all too practical to have someone on live in terms of doing one of these. And the fact that I'm not quite in Finland yet made it even more difficult. Maybe I could have convinced someone a couple of hours ago to join me, but we already moved our regular time up a couple hours to make this happen. So yeah, that's why we're not having anyone live tonight. That's how I heard that.
And that's why if you're watching us live, we're going live 2 hours early in order to find a good, happy medium between Terry's time and our schedules. So Calvin Heimberg wins his first major of his career to, I think he's got 11 Elite Series wins. He tied Nate Doss now for Elite Series and majors. A phenomenal event for him in general. The all-time high for major overall average rating, it's at like 1080 or 1079 or something ridiculous. Again, kind of like we had talked earlier, very reminiscent of a Fountain Hills, where it's a birdie fest with the bogeys thrown in there for a lot of players. Gannon Burr, second place. Isaac Robinson, 3 strokes behind Calvin in third place. Paul Macbeth rounds out your top 4. He was 4 strokes back from Calvin with really no chance, unfortunately, on that final round to win. He would have needed a miracle. He would have needed 4 more strokes. He would have shoot another 16. Not that it couldn't happen, but he would have had to have the 2 best back-to-back rounds in major history in order to catch Calvin. And Calvin doing it with, I don't know if you can call how Calvin won, like doing it with style, because it was a gut-wrenching 17 followed by an elation on 18. And Terry, I'm not gonna lie, my wife can vouch for me as we're watching this. She actually kind of got interested with as exciting as it was. I was on my knees in front of my TV, like 3 feet from my TV, because I was so excited. And I'm talking to hole 17. I'm talking to Calvin. I'm like, just put it in, dude. It's a 20-footer, 25-footer. You got this. You're gonna ice it. You're done. And then he's wide right, which is not a miss Calvin makes. It's usually high or low.
Correct.
Like if he missed it low, I don't think much of it. I think, it's another Calvin kind of miss. If he misses it high from that distance, which he doesn't do from that distance usually, but he missed it right. If just flat out nerves, you think?
It's got to be. I mean, like you said, the miss for Calvin is always high or low, and low more than high. And it was shocking. Now, I didn't have a good angle. I was over kind of near there at the time, so I didn't have a perfect angle on it, and I didn't know just how far right personally. I never went back and looked. But yeah, it was certainly shocking. It certainly, did everything you just said in terms of setting up for what could have been an easy up and down probably on 18 to ultimately walk away with just a par, thinking that's all you need, obviously barring a walk-off ace. But it was crazy. And I think Gannon, at least the vantage point I had of Gannon during the 18th, he's, kind of going through his motions. He's standing right behind Calvin. He's watching it directly behind Calvin. And he's going through his putting motion, which he's going to do whether he's playing, whether, he thinks Calvin's making or missing. Sure, he's going through those. But I'm thinking Gannon's like, we're going to a playoff. He's going to miss, and we're going to walk up there, and I'll put this in, and we're going to a playoff. Sounds good to me. And just the vantage point I had, if it was Calvin, then Gannon, and then me, another 75 feet behind them, and it was I think one of the most interesting angles of all, just to see Gannon's body and his emotion and everything from directly behind him as you watch Calvin put it in.
Yeah.
It was insane. And right, like, just think how much less exhilarating, not that you're playing to the crowd, but just think how much less exhilarating the win is if they throw the exact same shots and then Calvin's able just to pitch it up next to the pin and tap it in, right? Like that 17-18 combo is why you watch live sports.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. 100%. I'm sure Calvin wouldn't have minded being able to pitch up on 18
Of course.
and not having that
Yep.
sort of stress. It makes this win more memorable. It makes it memorable for like historic reasons. You'll always remember Calvin's first major win because he flubbed 17 and yeah, as I said, literally on my knees, and Calvin's walking up to that 40-footer, 45-footer, and I'm saying out loud, "Come on, Vinny," because I don't usually root for players, but it's hard not to root for Vinny in this situation. And
Of course.
I'm just saying, dude, you've hit this putt 1,000 times. You've hit this putt 1,000 times. You just need to put this in. Just up and down 1,000 times. Come on, come on. Out loud. My wife is laughing at me as I'm like cheering on Vinny from Wisconsin to his Estonia. And then to see him react the way he did was no surprise. I mean, the excitement he had, you can't keep that in. The fist pump, as you said, watching Isaac jump up with excitement. I don't know. Clearly, they're all buddies with Calvin. And I wonder if there's something in Isaac that just kind of wants to keep Gannon in check when it comes to the majors. We've seen him win at Worlds, and you know, there's the funny 0 time thing, but I have to wonder if there's a little competition between Isaac and Gannon where Isaac doesn't mind it if someone like a Calvin keeps Gannon from running away with the number of majors he's going to take home in the next 10 years.
Yeah, there's I think Isaac even posted somewhere, somebody said kind of the same thing. And Isaac, I think, rebutted, and he's like, it was an exciting moment, and happy for him. Like, how can you not be excited about something like that? And yeah, of course, there's friendship lines, and then there's just being a sports fanatic, being a fan of the game, and it's obviously a little different. He's not jumping like that if Isaac's one behind him and needs to make the putt to tie, right? Like, he's out of it, and is I don't know, like you said, who in the world isn't cheering for Vinny in some capacity as well? So
I have to wonder if he jumps like that if the situations are reversed and Gannon's hitting a 40-footer to win over Vinny with just as much love as there is for Vinny, and there's the so to speak monkey on his back, or if that's a situation where Isaac just I'm expecting, like, Isaac's probably expecting Gannon to hit that versus watching
exactly
Calvin, who it felt like at that point after missing on 17, which I felt was like a 60-40 putt, or maybe 40 go in, 60 fall out. It was a little right, but it should not easily could have stuck with the right spin and the right chains, but it by no means was a good putt. Versus, you walk up to hole 18. And I was giving Vinny like a 20% chance of hitting that. Just thinking like,
yeah.
he just screwed up 17. This in general in C2, he's like a 30% C2 putter, probably from this distance. Like, how do you take those odds? And I remember sitting there thinking like, all right, come on, Vinny, come on. And then for him to jam it like that was, you're right. That's why we watch, again, live sports over and over and over, why we watch these.
Yeah, it was. I totally agree in that if it's Gannon making that putt, there's not the jubilation, largely because Gannon has majors in his pocket. Gannon has done so much winning, especially over the last couple years. He would clearly still be excited for his buddy and Gannon, but I don't think that it was such a big moment, and we all know that Calvin's the best player essentially to not get the major, right? So I think that's all understandable, and I think there's a really endearing quality. Isaac doesn't even try to, and I think he wins over fans, just by his own reaction that way, which I think is really cool as well.
Yeah, I think if you watch Isaac primarily during the majors, I can understand why he'd be your favorite player, because that guy shows up every major. It doesn't matter how his season is going, but the biggest stages that guy has shown up, not just by the eye test. It's statistics too, and I'll get to this a little bit later of some of the new features on Skip Ace. But there is a new chart that I created that you can look at the player's rating for majors versus elite series versus like A tiers. And Isaac has a significant gap between his major and his elite series ratings, and it's for the better.
Sure.
He averages like 1050 plus at majors and like 1030 or 1035 or some crap in elite series. Just majors.
Sign me up.
No doubt. He is what we feel like Macbeth is. Like, we always feel like Paul shows up to these majors and that's when it counts, and now I'm going to put in the effort, and if it's an elite series, Paul has a little less excitement. That's how Isaac plays. And as we know, Macbeth plays that way too, because he keeps finishing top 5 at majors.
Well, to some degree, there's, you could flip that analogy over to, as of late, especially Big Money Missy. And it's like, how does she keep showing up and winning these super enormous paychecks? Not that she doesn't play well at other events or even win other events. Of course, she does all of that. But for a little bit there, it was like, oh, purse isn't $25K. I don't even get out of bed for that, I think is what they say. So she's, she earned a nickname like Big Money Missy from doing some very consistent things in certain situations. And anyway, that's awesome. And obviously a lot of hype around Isaac right now. And I don't, what this doesn't do, in my opinion, is it doesn't turn around and immediately say, well, no, Calvin's a favorite now for Worlds. Is Kelvin a contender and absolutely zero people would be shocked by him winning? Yeah, I think that's the case. However, no one's like, well, he's got the hot hand. This is clearly his Worlds now. It doesn't do that. As much as you want to ride this momentum as best as you can, all this proves is we've got yet another guy that now has a major title under his belt. Maybe the monkey's off his back in the sense that it makes him a little freer come some emotions next week, but there's still anyone that could win this next week. Still any one of 7 to 10 guys.
Yeah, honestly, it's the top 7. After Paul in 4th, you've got Anthony Barella in 5th, Niklas Antala in 6th, Wysocki in 7th. Those are your World's favorites right there. Cut it off.
Yeah,
I would be very surprised if one of them didn't win. The only other person I might throw into that mix is Eagle, because he's had such good experiences at this course and has played so well. Sure. You could put a Lauri Lettinen in there. You could probably throw maybe an Ezra Robinson off. That would be a stretch.
Sure.
I can't imagine. There's nobody else on my board. I would take the guys I mentioned at 95% chance to win this event versus anybody else at Worlds coming up. It's just,
but I don't think you're a genius for saying that. I think a lot of, that makes sense with where we're at right now. It's, but as we know, that's why we play, and a Simon Lizotte could he didn't finish in the top 7, right? He could sneak up in there.
He was 15th.
But yeah. I mean, of course. And Corey Ellis could win, and Ezra Robinson could win. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of those others. There's still a ton of people that can, but when you're looking at your favorites, by the sheer consistency and what they've been doing, there is a cutoff up there.
I'll say finish off rounding out the top 10 at the Cool Bets presents the European Disc Golf Festival. In 7th place, like I said, was Ricky Wysocki. 8th place, Jaden Rye is a name we haven't really talked much about, but shooting very well, shooting a 13 that final round to kind of jump him up 4 spots. But even to be up that high in by the 4th round, good shooting on him. 9th place, another name that wouldn't shock me to win Worlds, Mari Vielman. He's just been so consistent and solid. He hasn't been able to crack that really big event or that really big round that puts him up on the lead card at these bigger European events. He has had lead card and won events, but when it seems like all the Americans show up, he kind of gets bumped down to, rather than a top 5 guy, a top 10 guy. And so that's where Maury is. And Luke Humphreys showing up a little late in the season for him to be kind of poking his head out of the groundhog hole. But Luke Humphreys taking a top 10 at a major, that's great. Normally Luke's an early season guy. Maybe it was the weather or something that really got him amped up for this weekend. But yeah, that's your top 10 at the European Disc Golf Festival for MPO.
Yeah, I excited to again watch how this property and this team and things continue to build out over the next couple of years. It's such a cool moment to be 11 a.m. and all of a sudden over the loudspeaker, they just got done announcing a card or something, but then they come over the loudspeaker and say, all right, we just were notified. We officially have had 2,000 people enter the stadium today already, and it's 11 a.m. And at one point they made an announcement at 4,000 people and so on and so forth. Now, before we get into FPO real quick, I got to sidetrack into, there was like one of the, I don't know, Europe's largest races, rally car or something or other race going on in a different part of Estonia. It was in a different section of Tallinn. It was super close, like insanely close. And they had like hundreds of thousands of people at that, or maybe 100,000. I don't know what the number was. It was insane. And it was going on literally this same weekend. And in talking to some people, there is absolutely, without a doubt, that there was the conflict. Then obviously not only split some resources, spread some people and resources a little bit thinner, but then also absolutely impacted overall attendance. Now, they said over 15,000 people came through the doors, I think, this weekend, maybe was the total. And that's if you add up all 3 of the days. Now, how many, or 4 of the days, I don't know how many of those are unique versus, whatever. I didn't get into all those analytics, but I believe they announced that over 15 or 16,000 people came into the grounds this weekend. And just to know that there was probably a few thousand minimum that weren't over here because they're possibly either bigger race fans or had to pick or choose, or for whatever reason. It was not ideal, because a few of the organizers that work on this event were also kind of a big deal over at the other event. So at the race car event. So how it got planned, of course, PDGA has, some time things, the racing people do. We have, everybody's got all these things, and how the heck that it actually came on top of each other is probably the first big question. And it will, they've already assured us that it's not the case for next year, is what I was told. So just wanted to throw that out there, that's like another piece of this incredible puzzle, is to think they weren't even at full viewership and capacity this weekend, and they still had the turnout that they did, is awesome.
And I think the way both events finished can only help promote and push the excitement of the sport to maybe some of those people that were on the fence that are like, no, this is gorgeous weather, I'm going to go hang out somewhere else and do something else. That maybe something like this can help push them in that direction. I do want to give a shout out to Amp Style YouTube for the $20.
Damn.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Super chat. So thanks a lot. Let's talk FPO. We had another major winner, brand new, Silva Saarinen in the FPO. She bested Kristen Lott by 2 strokes. Didn't give. It's the way MPO probably should have finished. but Kelvin made that a little different. But yeah, Kristen shooting a 1 down that final round and having a horrendous back 9, putting worse than anyone's seen her putt maybe all season, even worse than last week at Crokel, where she had a bad week. And Silva playing some really, really good golf. The combination of the two let Silva come back from like 7 down or something, like 7 down to Kristen in order to catch her. Maybe it was only 5 down. Either way, one of the two. And to be able to be crowned a major champion in what feels like, her like second true, maybe it's her third season on tour.
Yeah, I mean the fact that
Yeah.
she, has only visited the States a couple of times before this year, had only visited a few times, and is now, you know, full in everywhere for all these big events. It is absolutely incredible for how quickly she's come up, and we've seen her win. We saw her win every event in the month of May last year. I mean, winning is no big surprise in general, but then she obviously got past Kristen a few weeks ago, and now, chasing her down, so to speak. Kristen tripping herself up, and then Silva being right there. I mean, you always have that argument of, did somebody choke? Did somebody give it away? Did somebody earn it and chase them down? There's probably always an element of all of those things.
Yeah.
You need somebody that's there, whether they're applying pressure or not, but somebody that's willing to step right up and say, hey, if somebody does trip up or somebody does crack under some pressure, I'm in a position that I can still strike, or I can quietly make my move and then pounce right at the right time, or whatever, or be there if someone falters. And that's clearly exactly what we saw. So
yeah, it took a meltdown from Kristen to put Silva in that position to shoot so well to come back and win. But it had to be a combination of both, because if Silva only shoots a 2 down, she doesn't win.
Yeah.
And it's exciting over in that FPO.
It is, and I think the number one thing it really tells us now, though, is no player is safe, has proven they're 100% safe with a lead anymore, and almost a lead of any size. And that's what we've had Holland Hanley kind of famously just rip off these insanely good final rounds, whether and if she's out of contention, it's to get her into the top 3 or the top 5, where she continues to finish so often. Whatever it's been, and then we've seen, Kristen hunt down, Evelina, at one point last year for the European Championship. These massive stroke swings that you didn't think would be really possible, and for a while they weren't. I felt like when Kristen had those leads, like it was game, set, match, and she has proven now through some physical and mental struggles, she's proven that even she's not invincible. And it's kind of crazy. No lead is safe.
Yes, no lead is safe. We've the old saying, drive for show, putt for dough, is alive and kicking in the FPO field, because that's what's doing it right now. That's why Silva's winning, because the other women up at the top are out driving her distance wise, but she's keeping it in bounds and she's hitting virtually everything inside the circle. Like, it's just, and then she's getting the bonuses outside of the circle that the other women aren't getting right now. As we said, look at the rest of the top of the field. Second place, Kristen. Third place, Ella Hansen, not known to be a great putter. Henna Blomroos, notoriously not a great putter right now. Holland Hanley, maybe the second best putter other than Owen Scoggins at this field. I mean, Holland hits those C2 putts more than a lot of the other women do. Missy's real solid inside the circle. Valerie Mondahano, a solid inside the circle putter. Evelina Salonen, who could have had an epic round, her final round. She takes 8th place, but she had so many birdies, but just decided to throw in random bogeys or double bogeys in there. 3 double bogeys Evelina had, and she still shot a 3 down. Like, Evelina could have shot 10 down with some smart golf, but what do you do? I mean, she had nothing to lose. Katie Tate in 9th place, and then, as we said, tied for 10th place between Owen Scoggins and Cadence Burge. I mean, you're right. No lead is safe with a lot of these women out there right now. They've all shown signs of greatness, and they've all had their moments of just what the hell.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's so funny. A couple of those names too that you were just saying. I was thinking of the last one you mentioned, Caden Spurge, obviously just picked up this Des Moines Challenge,
mhm.
Discmania Challenge win a few weeks ago, but at one point lost the 6-stroke lead,
Mhm.
lost the 6-stroke lead in the final round to Holland, and then obviously overcomes it on the final hole. But that too, another big stroke swing, and depending on who you're the biggest fan of, that may or may not be really exciting for you. It's exciting overall for the division, but a little stressful for depending on which fan club you're a president of. So yeah, pretty crazy. um, Overall, I'm sorry, what was the total winning score?
18 under for Silva. Kristen shot a 16
Okay.
under.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the scoring opportunities. So many of these holes that have the exact same tees and pins for both divisions. And then I think of like hole 1 is, I think, considered a par 5 for the women.
It is.
And it's a par 4 for the men. And it's the exact same tee and pin. Whereas like 18, for instance, rightfully, they have 18 has a shorter tee, but it's the same par, obviously a par 3. Anyway, I was just trying to think of like the scoring and the various tees that are out there, and I didn't dig too far into any of the numbers. I almost didn't know any scores, any numbers, anything all weekend, because I was just buried in a camera lens and didn't pay attention to a lot of those things that I normally would when I'm working the broadcast, so to speak. And it'll be interesting to see what, if any, tweaks need to be made over there on the on the design side for the FPO division. So
Unfortunately, due to timing, I didn't get a chance to watch as nearly as much as the FPO. I caught bits and pieces. I caught some of the highlights, but I didn't watch full rounds, so I couldn't judge
sure.
the course like I could the MPO. But I mean, I'm just looking at the top 4 players. Henna birdied 5 of the first 7. I know holes 1 hole 2 doesn't look like it was birdied at all, but hole 1 was. And then you look at the back 9, and Silva rattled off just a whole crap ton in the back 9. So like these holes, they're almost all birdieable for these women, other than like maybe hole 1 and maybe 15. No, even 15 got birdied a few times. So
I was gonna say one should have had plenty of birdies.
Yeah. One, yeah. I was just looking at the top 4. No one in the top 4 birdied one, but yes, but the second card, so to speak, Holland, Val, Missy, and Evelina all birdied it. So
yeah,
no, I
feel like 1 was probably one of the easier holes.
2 wasn't birdied at all. 2 and yeah, so 2, maybe you look at that and you make some changes for FPO based on that, or maybe you don't. It's only 312 feet. It's clearly maybe reachable, just very difficult. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of the FPO, and again, the 2 big storylines in that are how well Silva played to get her first major at the tender age of 22. She doesn't have to think about that any longer. Unlike Kelvin, who, for the last 8 years has been wanting the major. And Kristen, who looks like there's something wrong. Just there's no other way to explain it. Something's going on between her ears that she needs to figure out if she wants to win at the pace she set for herself the last few years. Because she's got the skills. Clearly, as she rattles off like a 7 down on round 3 or something? No, I have everything sorted wrong now. There we go. An 8 down on round 3. And
I was gonna say it's even better.
Yeah, and then comes in with a 1 down. It's all between her ears. She needs to get something figured out. But again, no, it's hard to say who there's. If you want to talk about MPO favorites for Worlds, same thing with FPO. I don't know who the favorite is. Is it Silva? Is it Kristen? Is it Henna? Holland Hanley?
Evelina?
Missy? Missy seems to be like the most consistent player. She rarely ever wows you with like wow, she shot like a 1040 rated round. But Missy's putting up the regular 1,000 rated rounds. She's not usually.
But
she's not
look
going to
at Holland's year though. I mean, where did Holland finish? 4th or 5th?
This event, 5th place.
Yeah, so she finished outside of the top 5 this year, unless she did at Krokol, which I don't think she did.
I don't recall.
She hasn't finished outside of the top 5 this entire freaking year.
Yeah, and Holland took
like that.
Holland, I would love to say Holland took herself out of it after round 1. It probably felt that way when she shot a 3 over and had to fight herself back to get a 5, a 6, and then a 2. She would have to have 3 really good rounds in order to get back in contention. But it's, I mean, and again, that's Holland's problem. She's a roller coaster. She tends to throw that one what the hell round in when you don't expect it. It used to be the final round. Now is it the first round? I don't know. But if Holland can string together 4 solid rounds, she could easily win this upcoming week. I don't know. Nothing would shock me in the top 10 women. If any one of them won it, my jaw would not be on the floor. Katie Tate is probably the one that I would be like, wow, she won.
I think the big question, and again, not an original thought, but I think one of the biggest questions, we're shifting from so much pressure on Kristen this last week, the entire weight of the country, and the excitement of her potentially winning at this event, and now next week it transfers. Some of that's going to transfer right onto the shoulders of Evelina, onto the shoulders of Henna, onto the shoulders of Silva, onto the shoulders of an Antala, like all of those people. I mean, Antala and Henna, Antala and the reigning champ in Evelina, understandably are the faces of this event over in Finland this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, you couldn't have it any better. Obviously, that Evelina is the reigning world champ, and then Antala clearly being a top contender and from Finland, so they're making him the poster boy, and they have her as the poster girl. There's insane pressures there, and they'll probably say that they either don't feel it or they maybe will downplay it as their way to justify it. But you don't think no one is inside Kristen's head come hole 17, but when she's putting for par on 17 this weekend, you don't think there's 1,000 swirling thoughts about her struggles to close out that event 2 years ago at that same property, and then her possibly now losing it and not winning this tournament on the next hole? Like, you don't think that's what goes into her missing the par putt and then missing the bogey putt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
of course. That's why I said
the entire weight of the country is on her shoulders, and whether she asked for it or not, it is, and that's I can't imagine that.
Yeah, and that's why I said a lot of that is probably between your ears. Like that's something that you need to be able to look past, shake off, fight through, whatever you want to call it, to get that victory. And there's the only advantage next week, I would say, you're right, Evelina is going to have the weight, the FPO weight on her shoulders. Niklas, he might be able to shoulder that with Lori Lettinen, who's been playing some phenomenal golf. Like Niklas has been Niklas has been the poster boy, the Finnish cowboy. He's had the success on tour, but the last couple weeks, Laurie has shown up and been like, "I'm just as good. I'm just as good as Niklas."
He might be, but he is. He is not. Yeah. The spotlight isn't nearly.
You're probably right.
Bright on him, and I'm not downplaying him, as a contender. But if you polled every United States viewer and said, name me your top Finnish players, not one of them is gonna name Mori before they're gonna name. No, Antala. And many won't even name him.
No, not Mori.
They won't even remember it.
No, I wasn't talking about Mori. I was talking about Lori Lettinen.
Oh, Lori Lettinen.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Maury Vielman.
No, Maury Vielman
Excuse me.
isn't
Yeah,
isn't from Finland.
and he's from Estonia.
He's from Estonia. Yeah. No, I was thinking
Yeah.
only because
Still,
yeah. You're. I'm with you. I'm with you.
comment remains.
I'm with you that Niklas is the face. But it was just a few years ago that, as we said, Laurie was the name that everyone was whispering before Niklas showed up and was like, "Hey, I'm the kid now."
Sure.
But in general, yes. Right now, Niklas has a bigger spotlight on him because of his success on tour, which maybe is great for Laurie to kind of sneak in there.
Sure.
So
not feel as much pressure. The last quick thing I'll say, and now I do see a few of the comments in the chat. I will just quickly say on Kristen as well. I think she needs a physical break from the game. There's the mental component of it, but she has talked about the toe. Bang your toe, and I'm not here. I'm not carrying water for her, trying to make excuses. I've got no reason to. But I was just going to say, bang your toe on the, on your bed frame, as we've all done, or on your coffee table, and then think about how you whine and complain about that for like the next couple days. Now, like, break a toe and go try and play golf, high level every day. And I think that, along with just the travels back and forth and everything else, and just the way she shares things with the world about her want for breaks, and how so many people just jumped on Evelina a few weeks ago for not playing Crokel because she's talking more about taking physical breaks. I think, and I'm not alone, I'm sure, I think Kristen needs some time off, and it's got to be stressful thinking you're here for this major in Estonia. Next weekend, you're trying to pick up another world title. You're the highest rated woman in the world. You obviously plenty of expectations. Then a few days later, you're going to fly to China to be in the World Games. Mm-hmm. I just think, like, thinking ahead, and yes, they're professional athletes. I get it. But even just thinking ahead when you're already like kind of jumbled up in your own head and you're physically beat up, and you're missing your daughter and everything else. I think after China, I'm thinking, as much as I hate to not see her in the field, I think we're going to see her take a legitimate break for 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. Maybe skip whether that's Idlewild and or Ledgestone or something. I think you're going to see her for sure take some time off, and I think it's going to be well needed to close out strong for the rest of the year.
I'm with you, and no one can second guess her, especially with the injury or her foot or toe. I'm there with you. Well,
so anyway,
do you have any? I was going to say before we wrap up this major conversation, do you have anything that you'd like to share about the event or anything along those lines? Seeing as though you were there on the ground, more eyes and ears than even we got to see through the camera.
No, I mean, just the team. I mean, I can't say it enough. They had more than 100 volunteers that came up on stage. If you saw the award ceremony, maybe that they had more than 100 either black and yellow shirts out there. Those were their volunteer people. The 4 main guys that put on the event, and then just the enthusiasm. I mean, it is so uplifting and such an experience to physically be here on the ground to see what they're doing. Obviously, next week they're trying to do that and then some up in Finland as well. But I don't know. We're in such good hands. I know there's criticism over, like you said, the quickness and the promises of big events here for the next few years as we lead into the Worlds in 2029. I can understand some of those hesitations and criticisms, but now that I've been here for 2 years back to back for this specific event, I have no qualms whatsoever. I mean, and if you want to just use the sod situation as like a microcosm of the overall effort and integrity that they have here, it's to me is just, and that might sound like a silly little example, but it's really not in the big picture. Look at the way it was freaked out over, and then look at how it got handled one way or another. And that's what I feel like I feel like a lot of European disc golf does that. They just get it done. And a whole nother story for a whole nother day is when I'll come up with my 10 things I love about Europe that aren't disc golf related, because they're just, the way stuff gets done here in a lot of ways is inspiring and uplifting. And you don't know it probably unless you ever get here to experience it. It's incredible. And I'll one of the most easy examples on the planet I'll lead with, that I've talked about before, is they stop for people in effing crosswalks. Like, if you're driving down the road and somebody gets into is thinking about crossing the street, like right next to the course, for instance, like cars legally and morally obliged to the idea of stopping, and somebody crosses at the crosswalk. It's, dare I say, beautiful. And it sounds so effing stupid to talk about, but yet it's something that has blown me away about just how to do things right. And the fact that they're walking is a whole nother story, but it's awesome. So no, hats off. People talked about it, that by the time they were packing up and closing things down on Sunday night, I don't know if this was talked about it publicly, but teardown happened. Every awards, good night. Have a good day. Minutes later, there's just dozens of people ripping down fences and ripping down banners and taking everything down. Thousands of these stanchions had to be collected. Everything had to be out by a certain time. Last year, I think they didn't get out till like 5 a.m. Well, they had to be out even earlier this year. Some people were there till 1, some people till 3 or 4, I guess, again. Trucks for AC/DC were literally sitting outside in the parking lot waiting to come in to set up for the concert that AC/DC is having here this weekend. So, was having here tomorrow. So, and then that's going to get broken down, because then they're going to have another festival this weekend. And then August 8th, 50 Cent is here performing. So
in the club,
in the in the song festival grounds. So anyway, it's a cool experience. I understand some of the criticisms out there, but it's like a lot of things in life, I guess, just can't trust just what the internet says. And sometimes you just have to be there to experience it, because what they're doing here is top notch in so many regards. So I love it.
Well, obviously this is a record-setting event because we had 2 new major winners, but there were like 10 more major winners this weekend, Terry.
Yeah, there were. How awesome is that Junior Worlds is taking place over in Emporia as well?
Yeah, I almost feel a little bad that they're getting overshadowed by another major, but there's only so many weekends in a year. Real quick, and I guarantee you Terry didn't watch any. I didn't watch any of this coverage, but I do want to give the props to the winners of each division. In MJ18, Bennett Domland wins by 5 strokes over Noah Fail. Fail, I don't know. Congratulations to Bennett, who shot a 38 under. Like I said, just very, very solid golf. FJ18 was Ann Deputy. Ann Deputy wins over Kayla Hess by 1 single stroke. MJ15, nice. Cotton Lawless wins over Finn Eder by 4 strokes. FJ15 went to a playoff. Allison Tweedy wins over Brooklyn Okrafka. Allison Tweedy out in New Zealand.
And Brooklyn, I believe, got an ace at one point during the weekend.
Oh, did she? I missed that. I'll have to go and look for that.
I believe I saw that. I think there were 10 or 11 or 12 aces on the weekend, and I believe she was one of them.
So cool.
So congrats.
Well, speaking of aces, Cole Kreska finishes off his win with an ace. Hole 18, I'm assuming they started on 1 because he was the leaders. MJ12, the C pool. You never know, though. Maybe they start in a different hole. But either way, hole 18, he got an ace, and he won by 8 strokes over Marcelino Cisneros. So congratulations, nice. Cole. That's a phenomenal memory for MJ12. FJ12, Eva Lysenko wins by 17 strokes over Hayden Harper. MJ10, Hudson Casper wins by a single stroke over Rylan Haag. FJ10, you've got Sarah Wadsworth by 34 strokes over Haley Fitzgerald. Congratulations, Sarah. MJ8, Marky Lavalle out of... Oh, it doesn't say where he is. Sorry. Either way, Marky Lavalle, he wins by 2 strokes. Pretty close battle over James Reed. And FJ8, Nora De Jong wins by, looks like 9 strokes over Ellie Lomayer. So those are your probably mostly. I'm not sure about Ann Deputy. Maybe she won an FJ15. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe she won an FJ15. I have to go back and look for some reason. That sounds familiar. But most of these are going to be new major winners.
Yes, most of them are, and the quick things I can chime in. First of all, of course, congrats to Emporia for pulling off another Worlds. The way that they've embraced that event so much over the last few years has been incredible. At one point, they got the 3-year stint of being having it, and then COVID kind of got in the middle of that. But just congrats to them. There's not a ton of people beating down the doors to host a Junior Worlds. So the fact that we can go to, the wholesome town of Emporia that we know is going to treat everyone well, I think is awesome. And thanks to everyone that braved the heat and all the conditions that are always go along with it, including all the staff and volunteers. What I'll add on to that is specifically, many of you know Sarah Wadsworth as Little Miss Frisbees, the one that we saw at the Creator Challenge, who threw on, she filled in on hole number 16 and did phenomenally. And then I also had just met her the week before, her and her dad, the week before at the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship, where she smashed that field as well. And she's, out of New Zealand and super, just ecstatic. She's trying to set some new records and break records, and such a huge career in front of her at this point. So this won't be the first or the last you're going to hear already of Sarah Wadsworth. So congrats to her. Just knowing that I've met her in the last few weeks makes it that much cooler that I see her go on to pick up the victory. And then Ann Deputy is, in fact, she cashed or turned down cash because she is the daughter of Zach Deputy, the musician. And Zach and Ann were both at the Glassblown Open earlier this year, the GBO. And
that's why I heard her name, and this is her first major. And the other reason we all know her is she crushes.
Yes, she also won the distance competition, and I was surprised. I don't know, the conditions must not have been ideal, because I think she won with like 362. I think she's been on record. Okay, I know she's been on record of throwing like 500. So that's how immediately it just tells me that whatever the conditions were, they weren't ideal, or something wasn't ideal, and it is what it is. The fact that I know she can throw like over 500, and she ended up winning the competition with 382. Like I said, that tells me all I need to know. And that's, again, so funny about being at events, somebody could be so unimpressed and think, 382 is not much, who cares? And knowing her, and then knowing what she's capable of, that just says, okay, something, whether it was the angle, whether it was the wind, whether it was, who knows what it was, but clearly something was awry, that, she threw 120 feet less than I know what she's capable of. But nonetheless, she's a distance champion. So congrats to her. The only other quick side note is there was, of course, an opportunity for me to be a little bit cocky. It was posted by someone saying, hey, there should be, don't you think, essentially, I'll paraphrase, shouldn't more pros be not over in Europe and instead be at Junior Worlds? There's a bigger opportunity here. And I came in with a facetious take on that.
Really?
I will. Oh, yeah, I know. You're shocked. But here's what I want to say, and here's why I bring it up. There, of course, there is validity in the original post that was made. There is a more than a shred. There is a very legitimate intention behind that post, and I do appreciate it, because I'm the first to say you can make a fan for life by just one really good interaction in a random spot. And I say that about coming to Thailand. I say that about going to New Zealand. I say that about going to these places for our top players to show up, or at an AM or a Junior Worlds, and you show up and you spot for one afternoon like Ellen Widboom did, or she did a bunch, but you do some of these little gestures and you will make fans for life. And I completely wholeheartedly agree with that. However, you can't say, hey, top player on the planet, why don't you skip this major taking place?
Yeah, no.
Like, and again, it does fall under that category of, you know what you should do, and you're telling somebody else what they should be doing. So already you're in like muddy territory in my book, or murky waters with that phrase, or statement or sentiment. But again, yes, would it be cool if pros, and we've seen that, when the schedule is conducive. Paul Macbeth was at the 2014 Worlds in Minnesota shortly after winning his third World Championship in Portland a few weeks earlier.
Paige Pierce and Madison Walker used to go all the time too.
Yes, tons of these players have.
Yep.
And big shout out to those that were there. I think Zach Melton and Ellen Widboom are the two that I for sure saw on the Facebooks. Like, would it be grand and great if dozens of them were there? I mean, of course. Double G and Jessica were just at an AM Worlds not too long ago. Like, there's tons of them that have, and the sentiment is there, and I appreciate it and applaud it. But telling a player or asking a player to skip a major victory opportunity to go try and make a few new fans is just
it's
the intention's there, but you're missing the mark.
It's an unreasonable ask. But Terry, one more thing I wanted to mention about the Junior Worlds week. The Bob West Memorial Sportsmanship winner, Ava Meyer.
I was gonna say
if
we're that's a no-brainer.
Just an absolute.
And I think that's maybe where she was presented it, because I think, I don't know if that was announced earlier, but maybe I just knew, or maybe it was announced earlier, but
maybe it was. But I don't think we mentioned it on the podcast. But I think
she was officially. Yeah, I think she was officially probably presented there, as she should have been, coincidentally among her peers, her junior peers, and with an official PDGA ceremony at probably the opening ceremonies is where I'm guessing she was granted the obelisk, and couldn't be more fitting, and so proud and honored just to know her and have interactions with her, and then of course her two very loving and supporting parents. So,
I mean, I
congratulations.
There's rarely ever someone that wins a Bob West where I look at it and go, why did they win? But there are people that win it, like Ava, that I look at and go, oh, that person deserved to win 100%, because I know for a fact that they do. I'm sure all the other winners, they deserve it as well, but I don't know that their accolades as much as I know Ava's sportsmanship. So just a shout out to Ava Meyer. If we didn't mention it on the podcast before, because I don't recall us talking about it, maybe we did in passing and I don't remember, but congratulations to Ava for your Bob West Memorial. One of the more important awards in our sport, in my opinion.
For sure. Of course. And again, couldn't be more fitting, and so gracious. She was at Masters Worlds presenting trophies and helping out at one of the courses, if not maybe, I don't think she was officially a course director on file, only because like legally she's not able to be.
You have to be 18
just
or something.
due to her age. Yeah. but we know what's up, and we know who's running the show, and it's Ava. So congrats to her.
Okay.
Again, awesome.
It's July 23rd, 22nd, 2025. What year does Ava get put on the board of directors for the PDGA?
Oh, geez.
Because I think it's bound to happen. Like, she's just that type of person. She's given herself to the sport. I feel like she's the type of person that, like, when she turns like 25 or 26, she's gonna look at it and be like, "Yeah, I should be a board member," and she'll win.
Yeah,
like, that's just. I just you heard it here first. If when it happens, so I'll get in line to vote.
She may or may not have aspirations of wanting to get into the weeds with that, but if she does, she would be fitting, as you're saying. Yeah. And with that, you didn't even know you were segueing to get out and vote. You've got till the end of July to get your votes in. And here's something that's not shocking tonight. The voter turnout has been
abysmal.
Abysmal. That's the word. You nailed it, Johnny. We don't even have I
took a guess because I haven't even voted yet. Honestly, I forgot about it.
It's been abysmal
with this major. I think it was just overshadowed. It would have been nice to, if the casinos, this is a PDGA major, if the PDGA would have maybe thrown some commercials or at least a walk and talk with some PDGA members during the MPO and FPO that just says, "Hey guys, check your email for your ballot. Go out and vote for your board of directors." I did not see that on MPO at all, because with the two majors coming up, nobody's thinking about this. Nobody.
I get it. Well, there's other places on the internet, whether it's the Reddits or the Facebooks or the YouTubes. There's definitely stuff out there. So I understand no one's maybe thinking about it, but what do they say? Ignorance is no excuse from the law. But anyway, go out and vote. Yes, some more reminders will be sent, and plenty of people will, or somebody's going to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready," and then it's July 31st, and like, "Oh, I don't see it." I messaged the PDGA at 10:30 at night, and I didn't get a response. Like, just get it taken care of. And I don't care who you vote for. I'm not even here to politic for or stand for anyone. I want the turnout to be good. And it's usually rides less than around 10% or 15% or whatever it is. So just get your votes in, people.
All right.
Mike Thomas on the board says I will, but have not voted yet too. So yeah, just vote. Ed also said on the board. I'll quickly say Ed said Yuli complained there were no elevated practice baskets on the course. Or maybe at the course. So the event organizer made one for him and put his name on it, which sounds fitting here. And sounds pretty, I'll just say this surprises me because I kind of saw the practice area at least last year, and I was near it this year. It's just beyond, many of you actually probably saw it too. It's just beyond where the green of hole number 16 is. So if you just cross the path and went another 50 feet or 75 feet, you're at it after you've seen 16. And last year, I feel like there was a couple of elevated ones, and maybe they just didn't have them out there this year. But
yeah, that could be. And I don't want to bring up not even a sore subject, but what obligation do they have to recreate every kind of putt on your practice green? Like, what if you're elevated above the basket trying to shoot down because the basket's on a hill? Just, should they have that type of practice basket as well as an elevated one because you're used to shooting up at a basket? I'm okay with them. Obviously, I want the players to have exactly what they need. But where and this is an easy solution, but where do we draw the line?
I don't know. Yuli, stand on your Zuka card or something, and or I don't know. Make your own elevation. I mean, yeah. Oh man, I hate it. This practice area has nothing but grass. There's some of these holes out here that have wood chips around them or have dirt or okay.
We can get nitty gritty, and again, this is an easy solution, and I'm glad Yuli brought it up. If it was an easy fix, they just threw it on a box or something, and the players were able to putt. I get all of that. I'm glad. Here's what I'll say: I'm glad that Yuli went to the tournament directors and had it done and didn't like scream about it in public. Didn't like go on social media and yell at somebody.
Well, clearly it got out there somehow, though. If Ed knows about it.
Well, I think it got out there because I think there were maybe some pictures of the box that they put Yuli's name on or something. Like, but Yuli didn't go out and like blast somebody. I love that, and props
Correct.
to Yuli for that. I'm sure it probably got out because they tongue in cheek named it after Yuli after he asked for it, and there's nothing wrong with asking for it, if it can be provided.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean, as we know, just don't be a dick about it. And I don't think he was.
So. Well, and you and I, who have this platform, as do all of the players have their various platforms, you don't always have to go screaming or whining or crying or complaining, ourselves included, to your platform or on a platform. Sometimes you could just get stuff done quietly, and that's okay too. I don't think anyone believes that these days, but yeah, that's also okay. So there's a lot of dumb stuff a lot of these people say on the regular, and I'm one of them, I guess. But sheesh. All right. Well, with that, if you want to carry on, feel free.
I might just for a few minutes, yeah, but not too much.
Yeah, it's officially 3:40 here, and it's I am ready to go to bed. I was gonna say it's light out, but it gets dark for like 2 hours ish, and then it's light out again. Like I could almost go play golf right now.
Yeah, but you act as if you don't go to bed when the sun's coming up anyway.
Well, I'm just saying it's a whole nother dynamic when it's I'm playing in a league last night till 9 or 10 or 11 o'clock p.m. with no issues of light. And then it gets dark for a couple hours just to be light again. Just all part of that, summertime over here in these upper latitudes. So,
how did you do at league?
Crazy, but I finished. I finished in 5th out of 30-ish, 20-ish. Get this, real quick. Side note to all that. This isn't even about my play. This was a Masters only league. And there were 55 people, and it was a low turnout. Masters only, so only 40 and over. AMs and pros. There was 55 people, and it was a very light week for this weekly league.
I have so many questions.
On a very difficult course. I ended up shooting par. I freaking opened the round by hitting the frickin' island stake on hole 1 and staying out of bounds. So that turns a 2 into a 4 instantly. And then I bogeyed the last hole, 18, by going out of bounds. Played the course blind, of course. But I shot an even par, which was unofficially rated like 991. It's not a PDGA league. It's a metrics league, which are very similar. Anyway, so I was very happy. I borrowed a bunch of discs out of the used bin or the lost and found bin. And outside of some flies and mosquitoes, it was a phenomenal night, and played 991 golf and finished 5th out of 30 some people. But 55 people on a slow night of Masters only and above. That was phenomenal. Like, talk about a whole new awesome experience. So again, that could be a story for another day. All right, with that, I'm going to cut loose. This is the most still I've ever been. You've seen me on screen. I want to say I appreciate everyone at the event and everything that's been going on. I've got some phenomenal hosts here. I'm excited to get over to Finland as well. We had our production meeting today with Nate and Val and our producer, and so super excited about the World's broadcast come next week. And thank you to everyone, and thanks Johnny, and thanks to everyone that tuned in or found any value out of this here on an awkward early night. And sorry to everyone that we may have disappointed by never really getting around to having a show last week. It just, timing never really worked out for Johnny or I. So super glad to still pull something off tonight. And next week's show should be, although we'll have to figure out again timing, should be nothing short of awesome, because it's pretty much the night before Worlds.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it.
We'll figure out some timing. Terry, maybe you can work on lining up a guest or something before Worlds. But yeah, we'll figure that out. It might be similar timing to this. It might be in the middle of the day. But if we can get some ducks lined up in a row a couple days ahead of time, maybe we can schedule a mid-afternoon something or other.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right.
All right. With that, I'm logging off, everyone. Thank you guys so much. Love you. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys all out there on the internets and on the YouTubes sometime later. See ya. Good night.
Good night. All right, we'll get Terry Miller's face off screen. Thanks, Terry, for taking the time to join us tonight from Estonia, where he's 8 hours. Like I said, it's almost 4 in the morning. And he touched on it, and I just wanted to touch on it as well before I sign off for the night. I want to thank everybody because we missed last week, which we don't do very often. I hated it. I kept thinking originally the plan was Terry was going to record something. That didn't happen, and then I was busy because I was on the road last week. I do want to give a shout-out, a very, very loud shout-out to a couple people. Last week, I was in Michigan, around the Flint, Michigan area, just north of Ann Arbor. I was there for a camp for my son. Rather than drive the 6.5 hours there and back twice, I decided just to get a hotel room. And I was able to hit 2 leagues, a Monday and a Tuesday night league. The Monday night league was called The Curd, kind of like cheese curd, so I fit right in. It was at Corunna, Michigan, at a course. It was a Monday's doubles league. I was playing all the courses blind, so I wanted to play doubles. It made more sense to me. So I looked for any league, to be honest, but the doubles ones were more appealing. And you show up to a course and you don't really know. You can look at the UDisc ratings, but you don't know how it's going to play or how nice it's going to be. And I just want to say that this course in Corunna, Michigan, the Curd, was awesome. It was not difficult. It was park-style golf. They had some OB. They had a water carry. They had some wooded holes. My only complaint about the course was that I'm kind of getting blind these days. I need a new set of glasses, prescription glasses, and I had a hard time seeing some of the baskets because a lot of the holes, you're out in the sun looking into a darkened area, so it's hard to see the basket that's 300 feet away. I think there were only 3 holes that were over like 330 feet. And Ian Granger, who runs the league, he's the course dude. I forget the UDisc, what UDisc calls those people, but the course ambassador maybe is what it is. And he lives like a block or 2 away. Had the course looking so nice. And they were having a tournament last weekend. I didn't even look to see who won, this past weekend. But I just want to give a shout out to Ian and all the guys over at the Curd who I got to play with. I got paired up with Josh, and I think he'd be okay with me calling him One-Eyed Josh. He's blind in one eye. And I made the mistake of asking him distances on 1 or 2 holes before I finally stopped. There was a wide open hole, kind of downhill, and we were playing the long pads. And I asked him, I'm like, how far is this hole? And because I wasn't looking at my UDisc, I wasn't keeping score, so I didn't want to pull my phone out. And he goes, 320. It's 320. I was like, okay. And I throw a shot, and I knew it was short of 320 because I kind of sawed it off a little bit. But then I came up like 90 feet short. And I looked at him like 320. There's no way. And the guy next to him goes, no, dude, it's like 360 for sure. And I kind of chuckled as they were bushnelling it. And I'm like, yeah, 360. I might have thrown a little bit different type of shot there, Josh. But overall, I think we shot a 9 down. The winners shot a 12. So we missed cash by like 1 stroke, which I didn't really care. I just like playing doubles because playing it blind would have been no fun. Just not knowing where the holes are. And then it's more competitive. This was more of a casual doubles round, which, again, I loved the course. I didn't want to go play what I think the place they called it was Monday Mott's, which is why they asked me why I didn't go there. And I had no clue about it because guess what, Monday Mott's? You're not on UDisc. So I had no clue. Get your stuff on UDisc. And maybe I would have showed up there because it was like 10 minutes from my hotel versus the 25 I drove over to the Curd. And I'm glad I went to the Curd because I like doubles. And then I played at McCurdy on Tuesday night where I got paired up. I got doubled again. And I'm trying to see who my partner was. Really nice guy. Brian Stanhope So sorry, Brian, that I brought the team down a little bit. We both played okay. We both missed a few putts. I'll tell you what, that my Monday night putting, holy cow, I was draining everything. The basket looked huge, like 40 and in. It didn't matter. It was going in. I just couldn't, not that I couldn't drive. I made some dumb mistakes on the course that I wouldn't make if I played the course a second time. I missed, our best shot doubles missed a double Mando each on a 290-foot hole. Both of us threw it right of the Mando with a mid-range. It was so dumb. And that gave us a bogey, went on a birdie hole, and that's probably what cost us. I guarantee you that's what cost us the cash. So dumb. So dumb. But Tuesday night at Memorial Park in Frankenmuth, like the Christmas city in Michigan. I don't know. Everything was weird. It was German and Christmassy. Very much a tourist attraction or tourist trap. And we have some here in Wisconsin, up in Door County, if you're familiar with that. Imagine you're any touristy city, and that's what Frankenmuth is, but they're all German-style buildings, very Christmas kind of thing. But played at Memorial Park, and we shot a 9 down there as well, and I think the winning round was a 12 down. And again, made some dumb mistakes there as well. That was a much more hilly course. There was a lot more elevation, but much more open. There was less obstructing the basket. A few longer holes, but a very nice looking park in general. And I was very happy to play. I didn't stick too much around after that round as I wanted to get back to my hotel, which was a 25-minute drive the other direction than when I went from the Curd the night before. So overall, great leagues in Michigan. I was thinking about looking for a Wednesday night league, but the closest one was a singles league, and it was like 50 minutes away. I was in Flint, and it was down near Ann Arbor, the one I was looking at. And I was going to Ann Arbor the next day anyway, so I didn't want to drive back and forth twice. So I kind of just said, forget about it. I'm going to work at my hotel room on the Skip Ace website tonight. So huge shout out to everybody in Michigan I got to meet and play with. It was awesome. So you guys are doing great. And speaking of Skip Ace, I dropped a very, very, very big update, and there were a few bugs that I think I've worked out now. To the Skip Ace website, it's redesigned as far as the look of the site. It's got a facelift. I wouldn't completely call it an overhaul, but maybe just maybe a little Botox to clean it up. It has a much better mobile view. It's got light and dark mode. There's some really, really cool analytics out there. If you log in, go under player research and type in a player, I've got some tabs that give you a bunch of stats, but I got some really fun charts in there under analytics. I've got a weather chart, how players play in different rain and wind. I just created, and it'll probably be released in the next couple of days, a chart for tee time. How does a player play? What's their average rating for different tee times? From like 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 2, that type of thing. You can kind of see, hey, this person plays better in the afternoon versus, the morning, maybe, and it's hard because the better players play more rounds in the afternoon. Like when you see Gannon Burr, his average for 6 to 8 a.m. is 1060. You're like, wow, he's a morning guy. It's a sample size of one. He played one round that early in the morning. I think it was like a 7:56 at Waco in like 2021. So, but anyway, those cool stats are out there. So please go check out Skip Ace. Even if you don't play, you can look at a lot of these stats. You can use them for sounding a little smarter on the internet, which we all want to do. It's a lot of fun to do. We're also obviously still doing the bracket, the world's bracket. So that's skipace.com/2025-worlds-bracket. It's free, literally free. Sign up. Look in your email. There's probably an email I sent you if you're on Skip Ace. If not, just type in skipace.com/2025-worlds-bracket. You can play for free. If you give a donation to a charity, send it my way. The receipt, not the money. Send the receipt my way, and I'll give you more entries into the prizes we're going to give. We have so many cool people giving prizes. It's like all the major retailers, the Paul Macbeth Foundation, again, OTB Foundation, Infinite Discs, UDisc is giving away some pro subscriptions. The Disc Golf Network is giving away a couple free subscriptions. I know I'm missing one or two. Skip Ace, I'm giving away some free leagues for next year. So anyway, it's free. So just play for free, but please give a donation somewhere, $5, anywhere. Let's show a little support for some of these things. I will accept the receipt for donations up until through Worlds. So at the end of Worlds on that Saturday or Sunday, I'll probably even accept it until I do the drawing on like Monday or Tuesday, if you send it to me later, if you do really poorly in your picks. But I kind of want to just push a little bit of donation to some of these disc golf charities that could really use the cash. I know, $5, that's less. That's less than usually a breakfast at whatever local place you're going to. It's a little more than probably a regular cup of coffee, which I don't drink. And I think that's it for tonight. We've been going for almost about an hour and a half here, maybe closer to 2 hours. Again, thanks Terry for joining. I know it's very, very, very late. Oh, one last thing. On a personal note, I got a new car, like a brand new car. Yeah, for the first time ever. No, not the first time ever. I bought a brand new car when I was like 22 because I was stupid. Yeah, I got out of college, got a full-time job, and thought, hey, I should buy a new car. So I bought a Mercury Cougar at the time in 2001. I had 0% financing for 60 months. It was great. It was like a $23,000 car at the time. But still, it was not a smart move. But anyway, and since then, I've been riding for like the last 15 years, 13 years, 12, 13 years. I've been in a 2009 Honda Fit with no air conditioning, no cruise control. It did have power windows. I replaced the stereo with a little screen so I could do Google, Apple CarPlay and stuff. I did that like 2 years ago. But when I left for Michigan, I used my wife's vehicle. We have a Grand Cherokee because I was hauling my son and a buddy of his to Michigan. And so we traded cars, and she hates my car. Hates it because she doesn't like that it's so small. She likes to kind of be sitting up a little higher. And my car was a piece of crap. Not going to lie. It only had 130,000 miles on it. I loved it, personally. But sure enough, I was at League on Tuesday night. We were on like the 12th or 13th hole, wherever we were. I smashed chains on that hole, by the way. It's like 190-foot, just big spike hyzer. Smashed him and didn't stick. Grr. But I get a call from my wife, and I was like, why is she calling? And she's telling me the car won't start. I was like, oh gosh, of course it would happen. It turns out the key wouldn't turn, that the ignition cylinder was shot. And so she eventually got it started, got it home, then it wouldn't start again for a day or so. And she finally got it started, and she drove it right to the dealership. They said it was going to be like $2,200 to replace the cylinder. I looked online. If I tore the whole thing apart, and I might be able to replace the wafers inside the cylinder. But do I really want to do that? I could. It was time for a different vehicle. So I got a Ioniq 5. I bought an EV, which is outside charging on the slow-ass charger that I have. It's just a regular 120-volt home outlet. But I plan on maybe getting a nicer charger in a couple months. So I'm not charging at like 3 miles an hour. I really love it, this Ioniq 5. It's very, very, very nice. So I traded in my vehicle, and I got a new car. I feel spoiled. I truly do. It's something I haven't done in a long time. But yeah, I think it's kind of cool. So if you're in the market for a vehicle, the Ioniq 5s seem very, very, very nice. I've heard very few bad things about them, other than maybe a little battery issue, like not even the big battery. But there's like a little battery that apparently has issues and goes, but you can kind of mitigate that with a couple things. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited. I've had the car for, what's today? Tuesday? So I've driven it for like 2 days. Maybe 3. Yeah, I got it on Saturday. I got home from Michigan, and I made the decision because they called me when I was in the middle of Chicago traffic, driving through the worst Chicago traffic I hit it Friday at rush hour, and I was so frustrated. it took like an extra 45 minutes to an hour to get through that stupid city. I hate Chicago traffic. And the woman calls me. She's like, well, it's a good thing you're sitting down because your car is going to run you. And it was going to be like $3,500 total if they did. The brakes needed work. There was some sort of bleeding in one of the lines. They recommended a tire rotation, which is fine. And then on top of the cylinder. And she's like, oh, and she's joking about it, kind of like, oh, well, I'm glad you're sitting down while I tell you this bad news about how much your car is going to cost you. And I just wanted to strangle her through the phone. But and what sucks is I'm driving. The only thing I want to do now is look online to see if I can fix it myself, if I, what my options are. And I can't because I got 2 kids in the car and I wouldn't be surfing that type of stuff while driving anyway. But, so frustrating. Yeah. The only other thing that I think that happened last week when I was gone is I went to Michigan, University of Michigan. And those are the Wolverines, Michigan Wolverines. My son did a tour of Michigan in Ann Arbor, their engineering department. And holy cow, does it look nice. I don't think he's going to go there because it's like $80,000 a year. And ain't nobody got money for that. But going through, checking out the buildings, the programs they have, holy cow, I can understand how nice that is. If money weren't an object, that might be the top of the line. The only way we're paying that type of money for going to school is if my kid can get into MIT or something ridiculous, which there's like a 1 in 10,000, probably it's higher than that. Probably like a 1 in 100,000 chance he actually gets into MIT. Smart kid, but we're going to need some extracurriculars there. So the University of Michigan, Wolverines, it felt a little bit of a traitor because obviously being a Badger, I'm not even a Badger. I'm just from Wisconsin. I'm a Panther, UWM Milwaukee Panthers. But yeah, have my kid go there and be a Wolverine. I don't know. If anyone out there can get me a discount on colleges, I'm here to listen. I'm here. Show me some cash. For Terry Miller, I'm going to check the chat real quick. And congrats on the EV. Tell him I know Terry messed up my schedule. He was going to go practice, but okay, cool. There's nothing on the chat board. So for Terry Miller, I'm Johnny V. This has been episode 566, the EDGF recap. We'll be back next week with a Worlds preview, ? Because we might do it on Wednesday. I always like doing it the day. I don't want to do it the day before the event starts. It's always fun to do it after day 1 so you can get a lot of speculation in, depending on who's shooting well and who's not. So we will see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.